What's poppin'? My name is Richie, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make an admin table like it is in the map Mirror from CrossPanner and MadMods. I think MadMods did the aesthetics here, and McPanner did all the mechanic stuff. But me mainly focus on this cool thing over here, which is the admin table, and I'm going to show you guys how you can make this, how you can make this work. And the coolest part about this is super easy to do. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. All right, so this is my version. This is the easy version, right? So you can obviously make this as fancy as you want, but I'm going to show you how to make this easy version here. The mechanics stay the same though. It is a super simple mechanic, and basically all you need for the mechanic side is just the score manager and the mutator zone. There's also a different way on how to do this. I will come to that in a second. And for this table, you only need these 5 items, and they're super simple. So first of all, these 2 are from the primitive shape gallery. This one here in the middle you can find if you go into your music tab here, and then you look into one of these. There's the big version on this one and the small version on this one, and you just take one of these, and you can basically use that. It looks super nice for this admin table. And then I also use the flower pots for the downside here, and then this we're gonna need to create the lines of the map or the surroundings. Okay, so let's quickly build the admin table and then we do the mechanics. So first of all, you start out with the ring, make it as big as possible. Once you have done that, you can take the cube and put it inside of here, same thing, make it as big as possible. And then we have to scale it down in the height a little bit because we don't need to spend that extra space under the table. Scale it down a little bit, and then we can try to fit it inside here and look how it fits. If it's standing up too much on these sides here, you can obviously scale it down on the sides here. This looks perfectly fine, and now we can take the cube here and create the edges of the table, so it doesn't look that weird with the things popping out on the side. So first of all, we want to make this as long as possible, and then we can create a nice little shape around the table. Probably want to lap that a little bit over the actual green cube here. And voila, and you're done. The next thing you can do is go around and copy and paste the whole outer part here, because we now have these little creases which you obviously don't want. And what you can do is go into no grid snap and then just pull it down very slightly, and you can obviously do that as detailed as you want, but I'm happy with that for the tutorial. So what we're gonna do next is actually go and copy and paste the whole thing here, and then we're gonna put it up just a little bit so we can put the table underneath it. And so put it up like around this height or something. Should be fine. And then we take the table here, go into grid snap again, make sure that we flip it around, because obviously you can see that the flower part where the flowers usually go in is a little bit like curving up, and we don't want that. So let's make the table a little bit bigger so it actually fits here. And then for the last final touches, we can go into no grid snap and adjust it and make sure that it looks nice and tidy. Obviously you can turn the colors of the primitive shapes to whatever you want, so you can turn that gray, blue, whatever, but for time reasons we're gonna leave it white. And the last thing we have to do is put in these little lines for the map. You can obviously put in whatever you want in here. You don't have to do Mirror, you don't have to do other maps from Among Us, you can do your own maps. But the main important part is obviously how do we get these lines in there. And you see that we have this piece right here, which is the smallest piece from the ring gallery. And it obviously doesn't work if we put it sideways, right? This is way too long. Even if we scale it down as small as possible, it is still way too long, and it would not fit all the little details. So what we're gonna do instead is just flip it upside down, or depending on how you want to see that, and make sure that we scale it in one direction, so like this direction here. And you can see that we now can go and, oops, that is the wrong piece. And you can now see we can create our shapes a lot more precise, and we can make them look very detailed. And the cool thing is that they most likely will fit super perfect within each other. And now we can start creating a room, creating the map, whatever. So for my case, we're just gonna create, I don't know, a line here. Obviously for time reasons. And okay, obviously this is not the most advanced map in history, but for showing reasons this should be easy to go. The next thing is the mechanics, and for the mechanics we don't need a lot. We only need the score manager and a mutator zone or a perception trigger, depending on how you build your map. But starting off first with the score manager, what you have to do is go over and first of all do the settings correct. For whatever part you want to use, you want to have different settings, but I'm come to that in a second. So the things that you need to change in the score manager are the score war type to set. If you do that to, I don't know, something like subtract, the number will be minus, and if we go up like a couple of numbers, like you can see that here, they will have like plus and minus signs in front of them, which we don't want. So always do it to set. The number will be green, fits better anyways. And then things that we have to change also is increment score on awarding off. We don't want anything to have, like, this is just visual, so we don't want anything like having actual scores awarded or something. And then make sure that we have the score change when activated to 1, which basically means that if a player steps inside of an area where we set the score manager to, the score will go up by 1. So that means that 1 player is counted, and if he leaves, then also it's -1. So set that to 1. Make sure, because that option is disabled on the score manager for whatever reason, make sure that you set visibility to on, because otherwise you will not see the numbers. And the last part is the most important part, and that is actually how do we get the numbers into the score manager, and that is by incrementing and decrementing the score. So obviously, if a player enters an area, you want to have increment, and if he leaves, you want to have decrement. So where do we put these channels in here? So first of all, we need a mutator zone. So let's just assume this is our area over here, and then we go into devices, and then we look for mutator zone. This beautiful piece over here, which we can just put somewhere and use it. So what do we have to put in the mutator zone? Is actually exactly what we need, and it's when a player leaves or when a player enters. So as I already said, 1 is for entering, 2 is for leaving, and that is done. And the last thing that we have to change is allow weapon fire. You have to turn that to on, because otherwise people will not be able to do anything in that zone. For whatever reason, this is still turned to no by default, so you have to turn that on. And now we can actually check if it works. So as you guys remember, here was our mutator zone, and if we walk in here, you can see that it shows up 1, and if we leave, 0. Perfect. Everything works fine. Great. So now that we know that everything works fine, we can put the score manager inside of our little thing here and make sure that it's like deeply covered and perfectly fine. It shows up 0. Now we can test it again, and it looks amazing. So now we can see that everything is set up correctly, and we can go in here. It shows up that we're in this area, and if we leave, it turns to 0. That is amazing. Okay, if for whatever reason you cannot use mutator zones, there's a different version. It's a lot harder, and it is also a little bit more buggy. But if for whatever reason you cannot use the mutator zones, you can also use perception triggers. All you have to do in here is actually do it with the when device sees a player or when device loses a player. This requires a lot of different scenarios, and you have to kind of like make sure that the device is put in the right places. And also Mechanic told me that there is a bug with the teams and stuff like that. So you might have to put in teams for each one, and it is actually a little bit more complicated than that. But I would highly advise you guys to try to use the mutator zones in any way possible. And maybe if they don't fit inside of your area, then maybe put them outside and try to make them somewhere work. They don't obviously have to be perfectly aligned with the thing here. That doesn't matter too much, I think. But it is also possible with the perception trigger, but it's a lot harder and more buggy. So that is basically it. Hopefully you can now build your own admin table. Obviously show me what you built on Twitter. You can follow me there at RichieTunes. Also make sure that you check out the amazing map from McPanner and MadMods. Link is obviously, everything is in the description, so if you want to play it, it is an amazing map. It looks super detailed and super nice. Happy admin table building, and I will see you guys back in my next video. Bye.